we have the list of students here. And whenever I want to add a new student, I just click here and I can just add the student by its name, by his name, for example, Carlos Felicio, and I can select the number of stars and hit here, and the student's created, our screen is refreshed with the data from the database, and we're happy. And now we want to edit a student, so we just fast click the student's name. It shows that we selected this student, but we want to change the activity to the activity where we show the form, the student form, so it can be edited. So let's do that. Whenever the student is selected, here, the student was selected. Yes, the student was selected. Instead of making a toast, I will just show my intention. I want to go to the student form. So let's use the student form. So I want to create a new intention. The intention is based on my student list activity. Sorry, not this. Student form activity.class. I'll extract this into a variable called intention. Sorry, I hate when I do this. Again, intention. That's my intention. And then what I want to do is, please start this activity. And I'm happy. And everybody lives happy forever. Well, it will work, but not as we expect it to work. So let's see the intention. That's nothing new here. Just an intention as we are used. Just starting an activity as we are used to do it. And it shows the form. Okay, it's working. I'm happy. I'm happy. I can go home. No, I'm not happy. Where's the information from Daniela? Her information should be here. It's not here. So somehow we need to pass the information between those two activities. The first activity knows which student is being edited because we have the student access here. We have a reference to this student object. We need to pass to this guy here, to the student form activity, a reference to this student. So what I want to do is my intention is to add some extra information there. So I'll put some extra information there. And the information that I'll put is the student name is student.getName. I'll also add some extra information, which is the student's ID is the student get ID. Oh, it's gonna take forever, right? Actually, what I want to do is I want to put just one extra information. I just want to say, please add this extra information for my other activity. The information is the student to be edited is this one, and that's it. That's the student that I want to pass as an argument for my other activity. And it should work, but it doesn't. It doesn't compile. That's it. Because the put extra method has several variations. It's overloaded with several variations. Boolean, boolean, bundle, byte, byte, char, char, sequence, double, double, float, int, long, parcelable, serializable, short string, and so on. Objects will either need to be string or one of those objects which are related to primitives or not, like string is not a primitive, or int is a primitive, or a real object. If I'm passing a reference, such as a student, it needs either to implement serializable or parcelable. Sorry. One of those two we must implement. So in our case, we're going to implement serializable, which is the default serialization process in Java. So that's the default one. That's the one we are going to use here. So what I need to do is go to my student class. Let me go to the student class and say that it implements serializable. And that's it. That's it. That's the easiest way to implement serializable. There are several configurations and optimizations we can do when we implement serializable. You can read a lot about recommended. You can read a lot about optimizing the serialization process with the right object, read object methods, and so on. But in order to use those features, it must make sense to your application. If your application is really becoming slow because this single object with 5 fields is taking forever to go to another activity, it makes sense to optimize it. Or if you are sending thousands of objects from one side to another and it's trying to serialize to get to the other side, and it is taking too long, that it might make sense to optimize it. In our situation, we are passing few objects from one side to the other. The size of the object is pretty small, and that happens whenever the user click adds or select an element. It's like 1 every 5 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever So it's not something that the end user will feel if you try to optimize it here right now. Probably something that he will not feel the difference if you optimize the serialization process here. So that the full serialization process, the default one, is good enough for us here. And to be serializable, all of its fields need to be serializable. In our case, they are all either primitives, int, which is serializable, strings are serializable, and double is also primitive, is also serializable. So that's okay. So what that means? That means that when I'm intending to go to another activity, I'm getting this object and serializing it into bytes. And I'm sending these bytes to the other side. The other side receives those bytes. Take a look at them and say, okay, this is a student. So let me use it as a student. So it deserializes into an object. And that's the second step that we need to do. So let's go for it. So we go back to the student form activity. And here, when we start the form, when we create the form, the activity itself, we need to read the intention. So how do I get the intention? Get the intention. So get intent returns the intention. So that's the intention, the intent here. And based in this intent, what I'm going to do is to say, okay, give me back that extra information that you had, please. Give me back that information. Get that extra information. Which one? Was it a boolean? Was it a bundle? Was it a byte, a char, a double, a float, an int, a long, a serializable? Give me back that serializable extra information. And that serializable extra information had the key named students, that the string that is binding those two sides. And notice I'm saying string that binds, which is dangerous. If I mistype something here, if I change this string, only runtime should not realize it. But that's how it's happening. So I'm using this string here. So far it's a string and I'm binding to this string. And this should return to me my student. Good, that's the student I wanted. Right? That's the student we wanted. But let's take a look and think a little bit more. So if this is the student that I get, how is it going to be shown on the form? Let's try to run the code. So when I click at Daniela, it should serialize the students, send to the other activity, deserialize it, and do nothing. It's not filling the information of the form. That's pretty ugly, right? We need to fill in the information from the form. So let's fill the information from the form. How do we do that? Well, we need to do something with the form, right? With the view. So let's use the view helper that we have. We have a student form view helper. We have used it before, remember? So I'm gonna use this student form view helper to fill in the form. So new student view form view helper. I'll pass myself as an argument and I'll ask it to please fill in the form with this student information. Get this student information and fill in the form for me, please. That's what I'm asking. So I can do this with an extra variable here. That's what I'm going to do. That's the helper. So this is my student form view helper, and I can type in helper fill in the form. So I can do either in 1 line, 2 lines. I'm sticking to 2 lines right now. So I'll just create the method. Please create the method for me. So here is the method. So what I need to do here is to fill in each one of the fields. How do I get one of those fields? Well, I'll have to use those IDs again. So I'll have to do a activity, find view by ID, and then the view by ID is, for example, the name. So let's go for the name. Student form name. So this is the field for the name. And when I have this text field here, it's an edit text. Remember, if we go back here, it's an edit text. So what I need is this guy here to be an edit text. This is the text field. This is my field, actually. Let me just call it field. That's my field. Whoa, it's waiting for a cast. So let's cast to edit text. That's my field. And then I'm going to ask my field to set the content within this text field to be the student get name. And there you go. Then I set the student name. Let's try this code. So I'll just run the code, and meanwhile, I'll just check it again. So I receive the student. I find the view by ID. The view is an edit text. and I ask it to set its text to the text that I want. That's it. So let's try Daniela song, and it works. Let's cancel. Let's go for Carlos Felicio, and it shows Carlos Felicio. So it's working. Let's fill out all other fields, right? So let's go for the other fields. That's what we do next.